Howard gets it in, but it's knocked away by Lexie Hull. Hull with the steal. And the Indiana Fever, beset by major injuries.
Let's call this what it was, a gut check challenge. Win or go home. 6 players down, angry from officiating controversies, and with zero margin for error. Could the Indiana Fever take that heat and deliver? They just proved it in Game 3 of the WNBA Playoffs against the Atlanta Dream, with Kelsey Mitchell attacking late, Aaliyah Boston grinding in the paint, and Lexie Hull making the play of her life. They met the challenge heated and advanced to the semifinals for the first time since 2015. So, here's the real question. Was this a one-time spark or the moment that cements the Fever's rise for years to come? Let us know down in the comments below how proud you are of the Indiana Fever. Let's go.
This season, giving ourselves another chance in Game 3, emotions are high.
This is a group that's confidence has really never wavered. This group has continued to show their heart, their character, night in and night out.
I think we all piggyback off each other within our group and our organization.
We've been in every kind of situation you can imagine, and we've been able to find ways to put ourselves in position to win, and this will be no different.
Somebody has to lose and somebody has to win.
Imagine living through nearly 10 years with no playoff series win. That kind of drought doesn't just sit on a stat sheet. It weighs on a franchise, its fan base, and every player who wears a jersey. The last time the Indiana Fever advanced this far, Tamika Catchings was still the heart of the team. Natasha Howard was just beginning her career, and Stephanie White was the one coaching from the sidelines during her first stint as head coach. That was 2015, and the league looked completely different. Fast forward to now, and the Fever stepped into a Game 3 that wasn't simply about basketball. It was about history testing them again.
You talked about the desperation before Game 2 on Tuesday. Just how does that carry over into tonight?
Well, I think anytime that you're a win or go home situation, there's desperation. And so it has to carry over. You know, we're in the same situation. Our back is against the wall. We got to come out and we've got to play with that sense of urgency. We've got to play with that hunger. We've got to value every single possession.
What made the moment even more pressing was the state of their roster. Think about this. Caitlin Clark sidelined, Sophie Cunningham out, Sydney Carlson unavailable, Chloe BBY, Ari McDonald, Dyrus Dantas, all on the injury list. That's an enormous chunk of experience and scoring power stripped away. Suddenly, this wasn't just another playoff night. It was win or go home with a group that had to stretch every bit of talent and chemistry just to compete. No one outside that locker room was putting money on them. In a way, that vacuum of expectation became their advantage. They had no choice but to fight.
Now, this one on Lexie Hull got me riled up because this was early on in the game, and this was probably the best defense that Lexie could have played. If you watch this play here, Ryan Howard is going down, Lexie Hull's guarding her, Ryan goes behind her back, Lexie doesn't touch her because she's backpedaling the whole time, she has her hands straight up. Like, this is really good defense that Lexie played here.
And remember how Game 1 went down? A parade of phantom whistles, momentum killing calls, and a technical foul on their coach. The frustration in that building wasn't hard to spot. Even on television, it was glaring. Those players didn't forget. They carried that bitterness and turned it into fuel. It was about restoring their name after being robbed a fair shot just nights earlier.
Indiana Fever are heading to the semifinals.
Driving to the foul line and the paint, lays it in. Sims crossover left to right, gets into the paint, layup, good.
Inside, Boston.
Pre-game interviews told the story before a single basket was made. Kelsey Mitchell looked calm, focused, as if she already knew she'd have to shoulder the scoring. Aaliyah Boston spoke quietly, but with a confidence that felt contagious, prepared for an inside battle she couldn't shy away from. Facing an Atlanta squad fully healthy, riding home court momentum, the challenge looked tilted from the outside. The crowd at Gateway Center Arena was ready to end the Fever's run right there. But here's the thing. Indiana wasn't only staring down the dream. They were staring down a decade's worth of frustration, 6 critical injuries, and the belief that they just couldn't break through. And in that storm, they made their choice. They chose fight over fear, which leads to the real question. Could single moments from individual players be enough to turn all those years of waiting into a brand new story?
To Jones. Throws it up.
No good! Game over! And the Fever are moving on!
The Fever found themselves in the kind of situation that defines entire seasons. Down late in Game 3, surrounded by the intense roar of just under 4,000 Atlanta fans. Every possession felt heavier than the one before it. A season's worth of fights, injuries, and doubts funneled into those final minutes. And the crowd was savoring every moment, trying to drag Indiana into silence. The Fever didn't fold. They turned to the players who had carried them all year, and one by one, people stepped into the fire.
Just picked up her second foul, so Hillman and Gray each with 2. Mitchell over the Boston screen.
And that was tough, her hands. But going back to that ball screen here, little movement in the first part of that screen by Aaliyah Boston.
Mitchell, man,
she is so good.
Kelsey Mitchell was a steady pulse that kept Indiana alive. Atlanta knew they had to crowd her, loading the paint and sending help whenever she touched the ball. Yet Mitchell still poured in 24 points. What's remarkable is that 19 of those points came before halftime, showing the kind of burst that keeps a team afloat on the road. Even when the Dream tried to squeeze her lanes, she found ways to contribute elsewhere with assists, blocks, anything to keep momentum from falling apart. It wasn't easy scoring through constant defensive pressure, but Mitchell didn't disappear. She simply kept attacking, and her teammates fed off that refusal to back down.
attacking from the outside and now the inside. And Mitchell's been quiet for a while. Not anymore. Mitchell over to Boston. Again, the shot clock winding down. Mitchell, tough shot off the bounce to get around Jones.
2 steps behind the three-point line and the dribble handoff for Kelsey Mitchell.
Ellen inside the paint. Aaliyah Boston was carving out her own narrative, matched against Bree Jones. She absorbed hit after hit in the low post and never once let her composure slip. On paper, Jones had the size advantage, but Boston neutralized it by relying on timing, positioning, and her growing understanding of where to seal her opponent early.
This is just 4 of 16 from the floor in game 2. That's terrific. Paul into Boston.
Beautiful read.
14 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists. That stat line only scratches the surface of what she meant in that game. Every rebound came in traffic. Every assist pushed the team toward one more shot they desperately needed. She wasn't just holding her own. She was showing poise well beyond her years while anchoring the middle of an undersized, undermanned lineup.
Has not been good. 40%. Maybe a little higher than that, 45.
Indiana electing not to call a timeout. Boston almost gave it away. Into Boston for the lead. She hits it. Indiana goes up.
Boston gets it. Mitchell is denied, but then Jordan Canada falls. Bree Jones almost gets it, but that's a second defender that's gone down. And
Then
Bree
there was Natasha Howard, whose value doesn't need flash to shine through. Her hustle added possessions that shouldn't have existed. Loose balls that seemed destined for the Dreams guards ended up back in Indiana's hands because of Howard's reach and relentless energy.
that Aaliyah Boston has to really body up with Bree Jones in that situation.
Tasha Howard slashing in. Sims got around the Ryan Howard reach to find Natasha Howard.
The court, Odyssey Sims has 7 points, 3 assists. She's looking to attack.
Odyssey Sims brought something different. Aggression that Atlanta couldn't fully contain. She drove right at defenders, absorbing contact, knowing each burst into the lane had a chance to swing momentum. 16 points and 8 assists from someone who hadn't been with the roster all season speaks to both her adaptability and her leadership on the fly. For a team that needed composure in hostile territory, Sims applied both grit and creativity.
a complete skill set in all that she can do.
It's the first miss for Atlanta as Howard could not get it to go. Odyssey Sims, this is what head coach Stephanie White wants from Odyssey. Ray with 10 points so far. Sims dribbled right into trouble and was able to score and get fouled.
And you can't overlook Brianna Turner. She might not have been a fixture in every regular season rotation, but on this night, she was indispensable, blocking lanes, contesting shots, reading movements before they developed. She stepped in and gave the Fever a backbone when fatigue and foul trouble threatened to undo their rotations. Her reputation as a pro who stays ready came to life right here. She did everything without needing touches, and that selflessness let others shine.
Griner posting up, setting a screen ultimately that Shea Penny ran into.
Anytime Atlanta needs a bucket, they look to her, and she's wanting the ball as well with the last score for Atlanta.
Aerial Powers was a spark plug. She only played limited minutes, but those stretches changed Indiana's energy. Diving on the floor, fighting through screens, injecting pace into possessions. She made teammates raise their levels simply by the way she carried herself. It's hard to measure hustle beyond the box score, but what she did was palpable. Players started chattering louder on defense. The bench grew more animated and momentum seemed less fragile when she was on the floor.
Another one of the signees because of injuries in the game. As we approach a minute to go, Aerial Powers in.
The bench.
All the injured players to not just cheerlead, but also to give advice to all the newbies. Big block by Powers.
Good help side by Aerial Powers.
Good help side by Aerial Powers. Possession by possession. Indiana clawed back into the game. Gateway Center Arena was loud, shrill, overwhelming, but the Fever matched that noise with focus. They tilled the court with determination, pulling stops together, eking out points from every angle. What was clear by this stage of the game was that they weren't surviving on one superstar. They were piecing together heart, playmaking, defense, and grit from every corner of the roster. And just when it looked like the outcome would come down to single possessions, the stage was set for an unexpected hero. A player who had struggled all night waiting for her chance now had the ball in her hands and history in her grasp. What if your worst shooting night actually became your greatest moment? That was a reality for Lexie Hull in Game 3. Most of the night, she was struggling to get anything to fall. Open looks wouldn't drop, jumpers rimmed out, and every miss seemed to stack on the next one. You could see her fighting the frustration. Try not to
26% in the first two games.
Good help by Alicia Gray there on Howard.
Hull.
With under 30 seconds left, all the frustration of that tough shooting night suddenly had a chance to be erased. The Fever were trailing by a point, tension filling every second of the shot clock. That's when Kelsey Mitchell cut to the hoop with her usual burst and scored a layup assisted by Aaliyah Boston, making the game a one-possession battle. The Dream struck back, but Indiana refused to fold. On the following trip down, after swinging the ball, Hall got another open look, and this time, she buried a three. It wasn't just a shot, it was a breath of life for her team, and it carried hope into the final stretch.
A high ball screen has worked for Kelsey Mitchell, but that time, she gives it up to Hull. And how about that shot by Lexie Hull?
But the game was still far from over. Atlanta set up for an inbound with only 7, for seconds on the clock. Their season depended on that one possession. One clean pass, one good look. And the Dream could steal everything Indiana had worked for. Everyone in the building expected the ball to land safely in Atlanta's hands. And then in a split second, Hull read it differently. Watching her defender's eyes, anticipating the angle, she lunged forward with no hesitation. She snatched the ball clean out of the air for a game-saving steal.
Howard gets it in, but it's knocked away by Lexie Hull. Hull with the steal. And the Indiana Fever, beset by major injuries all year long, are on the doorstep of making the semifinals.
Picture the Indiana Fever locker room after that final buzzer. 10 years of waiting, 10 years of questions, and quiet frustration finally snapped in half. Players who carried scars of losing seasons were smiling like kids again. Kelsey Mitchell was one of the first to grab her teammates in a tight embrace, unable to hide the relief and joy in her face. Aaliyah Boston sat for a moment with tears in her eyes, the weight of history hitting her. And Lexie Hull, the same player who sealed the win with a steal, clutched the game ball as if it was a piece of gold, showing it proudly to every camera around her. For Brianna Turner and Odyssey Sims, veterans who had bounced between teams, this wasn't just another win. It was validation that their fight mattered, and their minutes carried the kind of value that shifts entire seasons.
The Indiana Fever are heading to the semifinals of the WNBA for the first time in 10 years. Kelsey Mitchell said, "We all that we've got, and we have all that we need." Cobbling together this roster, and here they are, about to be in the Final Four.
What you thought was impossible is possible. A team that has been devastated by injury, rallying on the road. One more time.
Even Caitlin Clark, despite missing the game, was right in the mix. She had spent the night on the bench yelling, waving towels, and pouring herself into every possession. After the game, she posted in all caps, "Fave ERSHOW" with hearts and team colors. For someone forced to support in street clothes, her emotions showed exactly how unified this group had grown. Every player, whether on the floor or not, had fingerprints on the moment. The locker room didn't look like one team celebrating a lucky break. It looked like a family that had earned it, but the joy didn't erase reality. Head coach Stephanie White reminded everyone this was step one. Waiting for them is the Las Vegas Aces. That's Ajal Wilson, Chelsea Gray, Jackie Young, and a championship roster with depth that can punish mistakes. Aces coach Becky Hammond didn't make it easier, sending a loud warning by saying they haven't seen the real Aces yet. A series stretch to best of 5 means Indiana will have to endure adjustments, sustained runs, and experience a roster that has been here before.
Y'all are a tough bunch of. I mean, I cannot even put into words how proud I am. Yeah. It's like the toughness that it takes, like the gut checks that it takes. Like, y'all, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because we've been through all of it, right? Yeah. So it doesn't matter the circumstance. It doesn't matter the score. It doesn't.
Indiana knows what awaits them. They survived 6 injuries, bad whistles, and elimination pressure. Now comes the giant everyone measures themselves against. That's the challenge waiting in Las Vegas. Indiana's victory was more than just advancing. It felt like the rebirth of a franchise that had been chasing one playoff series win for almost a decade. 10 years of waiting ended with a team that refused to fold, even without 6 key players. The Fever showed that toughness and belief can push through obstacles that should have broken them. Now they move into the semifinals against the Las Vegas Aces. Becky Hammond already warned they haven't seen the real Aces yet. But for tonight, Indiana proved that faith, fight, and resilience can carry a team into history. Let us know down in the comment below how proud you are of the Indiana Fever. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next.
You actually just referenced it twice. It is Indiana. Dropped 2 of the 3 games to them this year, but you haven't seen them since late July. What excites you about that matchup?
That they haven't seen the real Aces yet. They caught us when we were a bit in turmoil. Not only that, they whooped us one of those stretches. So, you know what? We'll buckle in, hone in where we can, and take care of business.